Hey, it's the Master Vegan here, and I'm going to be showing you how to make some vegan whipped cream with coconut milk. And the first thing I did was I gave a bunch of different coconut milks a try to see which one would be best to make whipped cream with. And the first thing I decided was, even though these taste great, what you'll have to do is refrigerate them and then separate out the solid part, the fat, from the liquid, and life's too short for that. So what I decided to do instead was to go ahead and just buy some coconut cream. Problem solved. So what you're going to want to do with this is go ahead and separate out the solid part. You're going to put the solid part in a mixing bowl, and this whipped cream type is almost all solid, but there's a little bit of liquid in there, so you want to make sure you don't get the liquid in. So there's a very little bit of liquid at the bottom there, so just make sure you don't get that in there, and then you don't have to worry about separating it out. How easy is that? Alright, there's one can. Our recipe is going to call for 2 cans today. So let's go ahead and separate out the second one. And for this whipped cream or coconut milk, you're going to want to keep this in the refrigerator for at least overnight. This one is a little bit more liquidy. I put it in probably about 8 hours ago. You can see the difference. I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference with the whipped cream, but it is going to be a little bit more liquidy. So that's why you always want to make sure that when you make vegan whipped cream with coconut milk, that you put it in for a good 10 to 12 hours. There we go. Okay. Alright, and the other ingredients we have, instead of using brown sugar, I tend to like to use maple syrup, and that's my favorite. I love maple syrup, the organic type. I spent a lot of years living in Canada, and Canadians love their maple syrup, and there's a reason for it. It's delicious. So I'm going to pour just enough maple syrup on there to sweeten it, and that's probably just over a teaspoon, maybe a little under. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I know a lot of people who will use some kind of thickener in here, but if you're vegan and you're concerned about your health, you're not going to want to put like cornstarch and carrageenan, which is an algae derivative, in your whipped cream. That just doesn't work well. So we're going to take this and we're going to whip it up. And if it's not quite solid enough, we're going to put it back in the fridge and let it get solidified. So here we go. Blend it for about 5 minutes. And what you end up with is the most delicious whipped cream. Just going to cheat and give this a little taste and make sure it's sweet enough. That's delicious. That is just delicious. I'm going to add just a little bit more maple syrup though. Make sure it's sweet enough. Remember, this is organic maple syrup. 100% pure organic maple syrup. It is a little more expensive, but it's worth it. Anything that comes from a plant, it's plant-based and organic, you can't lose on. So let's go ahead and whip this up a little bit more and make sure it's nice and sweet. Let's see how this turned out. That is perfect. Now I have my vegan whipped cream, and I'm going to show you a couple